What's going on, guys, and welcome to today's video. And today we're actually going to be putting some hopefully 392 worthy shocks on the 392 here. Now, since this Jeep was new, I've been running a kind of a goofy combination of shocks with my kind of budget lift or budget suspension build on this thing. I had moved the OEM rear shocks up to the front and then was running the Metal Cloak Rock shock, their extended long travel shocks there in the rear. And the thing works beautifully off-road. The travel is perfect. Everything works really, really well. But the thing, I feel like it needs a little bit more dampening. Typically on daily driving, it's really not a big deal. There's a few things, for instance, pulling up my driveway, which is kind of a goofy, multiple kind of stepped thing that just really just upsets the Jeep, and it continues to rock a lot more than I think it should. And I thought it was a good idea to get, again, a little bit more shock control, a little bit more dampening, rebound, all of those things on this Jeep, because hopefully later in the year, we're gonna be bumping this thing up to 38s. Currently, I've got 2 wheels and tires for this Jeep. Daily drive on my street wheels and tires, which are the OEM Extreme 35 package wheels with the, again, factory 35-inch tall KO2s. When we go off-road, I've got a set of 37-inch mud terrains on another set of Extreme Recon wheels. Again, getting ready to, again, bump hopefully to 38s, and figured I should take care of my, what I perceive to be under-dampened shocks before we throw even bigger, heavier wheels and tires on this thing. So, ended up doing a little bit of research, and I've just always been a big BILSTEIN guy. We've just never had issues with them on the WJs. I mean, in the dealership Jeep world, the original Mopar lifts came with Fox 2.5s. Now, those have always ridden and driven great down the road, but now as those have gotten older in life, we've started to see a whole bunch of them come in leaking, seeping, soaked in grease. And that's because Fox has a kind of requested or recommended rebuild time of, I think, every like 60,000 or 50,000 miles. I'll throw the actual number up on the screen here, but it's kind of soonish. And that doesn't matter if it's an aftermarket Fox shock or a factory, Ford Raptor with Fox shocks. Those are still due to be sent into Fox for rebuilds every X amount of miles. So one thing really cool about BILSTEIN, one of their big claims to fame is these shocks are good for 100,000 miles. Now, I'm not just talking about the 8100s here. I'm talking all the way down to the 5100s, the 5160s. Your cheaper or more entry-level shocks are 100,000 mile shocks, and we've just never had an issue with any of our BILSTEINs that we've thrown on all of our WJs. So it was an easy choice for me to go with BILSTEIN. Knew I wanted kind of a cool BILSTEIN here. So this is the 8100. This is the non-DSA. The DSA is the dual speed adjuster there, where you've got high and low speed adjusters for the dampening. That was considerably more. I'm still just a normal dude, so I was already stretching the budget more than I wanted to, going with the standard 8100s. But I haven't really seen a lot of videos showing install of BILSTEIN 8100s for JL or JT. And there is a little bit of difference between 5160s and these 8100s. So I figured I would show you guys the install, and we'll quickly throw our fronts on, throw the rears on, and just kind of get a decent DIY install video going here. So guys, like I said, here was my current setup. This is a factory rear Extreme 35 or 392, what have you. This is the factory rear shock I was running on the front. It actually works really well for extended travel. And then here is that Rock Sport rear shock, which is like 30 inches extended travel. It's a twin tube. Honestly, for the money, this thing is pretty hard to beat right here. Works well, even though I think it is maybe a teeny bit under dampened. But here is the new setup here. We've got our 8100 non-DSA shocks here. We've got really cool, big, huge, I think these are like 2.65 body shocks, which are pretty darn beefy here. We've got our nice swivel hose connection going to our remote reservoir. Again, it just all looks really nice. All the badging, or excuse me, all the decaling is just really, really nice. One thing cool also about BILSTEIN is you've got a QR code here on the back with all of your information. You've got the shock part number. You've got even it blatantly telling you front right, so you cannot install it incorrectly. Moving over here to our rear, this is a piggyback style shock, not a remote reservoir, because our reservoir is built onto the shock. Again, just really nice bushings, really nice parts and pieces. And again, you've got that QR code and our description of right rear. Now, one thing kind of cool when I opened these up, which maybe I'm easily entertained, is the what I thought was very unique BILSTEIN branded recycled cardboard packaging, which I don't know, kind of a cool touch with the little BILSTEIN logos on all of that kind of assuming recycled cardboard here for packaging. Really nice, clear color instructions, which is something you've got to point out here in, you know, the modern age. Most companies are just sending a single piece of paper with a QR code telling you to go to their website and look up the instructions. What a thought to actually print off a few pieces of paper in color at that and throw it in the box for your product, so you aren't hunting around, looking online, looking on your phone. You've got a color piece of paper with the instructions. That's it shouldn't be that big of a deal, but I can count on one hand how many aftermarket products actually come with instructions. So that's cool. Thank you for throwing in a few pieces of paper off your printer. I really appreciate it. Now we've got all of our hardware and brackets and everything nicely packaged, bubble wrapped, so we're not getting it scratched up here in shipping, and that's the whole deal. So guys, like I said, let's jump onto either the front or the rear. I don't really know where I'm going first, but we'll get the shocks on. I'll kind of show you the step-by-step, and we'll get this thing looking a little bit cooler out on the road. All right, guys, now starting off in the rear here, I've got, I had lifted the rear of the Jeep up enough to get a jack stand under the frame, pulled the wheel off, and then lowered the suspension down until we are at full droop on the rear shocks. So that rear shock is fully extended, and then just barely put a little bit of pressure on the rear axle so we can get the rear shock removed without anything coming apart, moving, bouncing around, or anything like that. Now, we are going to need to remove these rear plastic bumper closeout panels because we are going to need to cut and trim for that reservoir to fit through. So these are just some 8mm little screws that go into some J-nuts back behind. Pulling the factory shock, we've just got an 18mm bolt at the top and then a 18mm nut and bolt down low at the bottom. Now guys, like I said earlier, always just make sure you double check before you are throwing the shock on. This one blatantly says right rear. They are slightly different. The reservoirs are angled differently, and in the front where the hoses attach is in a different spot. So make sure you're putting the right shock in the right spot. Now that we've got our upper and lower shock bolt in, one kind of good thing to do before you tighten those down is to tighten them at ride height. So I'm gonna throw the jack back under the rear axle and lift this thing up till our jack stand doesn't touch the frame anymore, and then we know we are sitting on the springs. We'll go ahead and tighten the upper and lower shock bolts down. All right, guys, so now with our shocks bolted in, we are ready to do our little bit of trimming required here on the rear bumper closeout panel. Now, a lot of you guys with aftermarket bumpers or what have you probably don't even have these, so you wouldn't even need to do this. But this with a factory rear bumper, we are going to need to trim out some of this plastic to fit that reservoir in this area. Now, like I said, the instructions are really, really nice and clear. They blatantly tell you a nice little cut line right there and show you how it's supposed to look when it's done. Again, very much appreciate BILSTEIN being able to print out a few pieces of paper and throw it into the box with their shock. So I'm going to quickly do that here. Now, if you've got a Dremel or a what have you, a little skill saw, or even just some metal snips, you can cut a decent straight line. This stuff is pretty thin plastic, and then get those fitted back on. All right, now with our cutting here, we have followed our nice dotted line. We are ready to throw this back on, throw the factory fasteners back in, and we should have a nice clearance here for that reservoir. All right, guys, moved up to the front here. Again, we've got the same setup with a jack under the frame. We've lowered the axle after we pulled the wheel off so we could fully droop the shock and then just put a teeny bit of up pressure. So again, we can pull the shock without anything falling and coming apart. But we've got two riv nuts we need to install into the front frame area. This is for the reservoir mount bracket, and they even give you really nice instructions here how they want to set up their riv nut tool with the bolt, a washer, the box into the wrench, their nut, and then again the riv nut there. So really nice instructions, and even again nice clear pictures telling you which two locations they want you to install those riv nuts. So we're going to take the smaller riv nut right up here. Now, you do not need power tools. You can do this by hand. It is a little bit nicer with power tools because you can just kind of zip this thing down. Now, with riv nuts or thread inserts, whatever you want to call them, you do want to make sure that that back piece, the threaded part, has pulled itself all the way forward and, you know, collapsed and made contact, so it's not going to spin in the future. Again, we've got one more down here on the lower section. Again, it tells you which location it wants you to use. So with our riv nuts now installed up front, we're gonna go ahead and get the stock shock out of place so we can get the new shock bolted in. Again, it's just an 18 up top that's kind of in the way here with the inner fender, and then down low, you've got the 18 nut and bolt. Now guys, like we already said, make sure you've got the correct shock. There on the back, we've got front right, which again, we are working on the front right now. So we'll go ahead and get the upper bolt through because the lower mount actually changes pretty drastically here with these 8100s. All right, guys, so here is the lower mount. Now, BILSTEIN is moving the lower shock mount outside of the factory location with this relocation bracket. What they're trying to do is move this shock body away from the frame as much as possible, since this is such a larger diameter body than the factory shock. So that's why they're needing to, again, move everything over with this heavy bracket. So we've got, again, all of the hardware obviously included for that. We've got a small bolt that goes up through the bottom of this bracket in through the factory shock bracket and ties everything together really nicely. All right, guys, so here is kind of that finished lower mount. Even the lower shock mount is offset. So there it's offset front and rear, and it is offset, hopefully you can see there. So you want it rearward and inward, if that makes sense, on that lower mount. And again, with our sleeve, lower bracket bolt, and then we've got a nut and bolt down here locating that. That thing is hopefully solidly located, not going to be moving anywhere. Now we can go ahead and get our upper shock bolt tight. Now moving up front to our reservoir mounting bracket, you do need to assemble this. Again, the instructions are very straightforward on which mounting location this will go in depending on which side. Now we've got a larger lower bolt that we can get hand tight. Now we'll leave the top bolt out because we're going to need that bracket to pivot. This reservoir is large enough that we need to be able to pivot this thing back into place once we slide this in. Now, once we've got this in place, you guys aren't going to be able to see because I basically can't even see. We've got the small upper bolt that is going to bolt the top bracket bolt to our top riv nut that we installed earlier. This will be a bit of a fight because you are working around the backside of the reservoir. Now here on the passenger side, the hose holding bracket looks like this. As a bolt goes through an existing hole here in the spring bucket on the frame. And then we'll grab the hose clamp here with another nut and bolt and get that bolted to our bracket. Once we're happy with all of the hose routing, we're making sure we're not rubbing on anything metal. We are clear of everything. We can go ahead and get the clamp tight for the shock reservoir and kind of do a final check over to make sure everything is where it needs to be. Well guys, I think that's gonna do it for today's video. Like I said, just kind of a DIY on the install process, a little bit of cutting in the rear, and really nothing too crazy in the front other than those riv nuts there in the frame, running the hose, making sure everything's kind of out of the way and not rubbing on the frame, rubbing on different things like that. Again, very happy with the kit, very happy with the hardware, happy with the darn instructions, if I didn't say that enough throughout the video. Now, yeah, we could go out and drive the thing and I could say, oh man, yeah, this feels great, but one little quick drive is absolutely not going to tell me what I need to know. I'm gonna need to get some miles on the thing. We're gonna need to go off-roading with it. So maybe I'll do a future update video or one of our off-road videos, you know, this season saying, man, really dig on these shocks, or man, they're a little bit heavy or a little bit soft, or what have you. So it'll be interesting to see how these things compare to the previous setup. I think I will be pleasantly surprised with the added, what I assume I will get a little bit more dampening with that larger body, more fluid volume, bigger pistons, all of that. So guys, thanks for coming out into the garage and putting on some really kind of cool parts on the 392. Now I will throw Amazon links down in the description if you want to click on them and look at pricing. These 8100s are available in two different versions. Well, they're available in two different versions on the non-adjustable and the adjustable, but they're also available in two different lengths, like 2 to 3 inches of lift, and then from like 3.5 to 4 inch, like long arm setup. Obviously, this is the 2 to 3 inch versions, which, looking at their chart for the extended and collapsed length, worked perfectly for this 392 with its current spacer setup that it's got going on. So these should be the last shocks that this Jeep ever needs to get. It's never going to be any larger than what it is because, like I said, it still needs to be able to daily drive on the 35s and not look ridiculously tall with little teeny 35s, which is wild to say 35s are small. But you understand where I'm going, guys. So again, thanks for coming out into the garage with me today and installing cool parts for once in a long time. And yeah, as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.